Hi there, I'm Lindsay Whitaker-Guest. I am the library curator here at the National Motor Museum Trust Reference Library, and I work on a Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. And we've put together just this little video to give you an insight into what happens here every single day.
And I'm Karina Taylor, the library curator on Thursdays and Fridays.
So the first thing we do every morning is check our post pile, and today you can see I've got rather a large pile here. They're usually a mix of donations and magazine subscriptions and inquiries. Sometimes people write to us, most of the time people email us. We tend to add thousands of magazines and new donations to our collection each year, and most of them arrive to us through the post. Sometimes people contact us in advance to tell us they're going to send us something, or sometimes they just send us things on the off chance that we might want them. So usually a large part of our morning is spent sorting through a nice little post pile like this. The range of magazines that we collect here is really vast. This is just the selection that I received in the post today. As you can see, it ranges from Aston Martin, Ford Model T, we've got Rolls-Royce, we also collect motorcycle magazines, this is Brough Superior Club, and also we collect motorsport magazines and, you know, all the Formula One and that kind of thing. They're really, really useful. These kind of magazines hold some really good information. So this is Rumcar News, which is about microcars. So this has got a lovely article here about historic microcars, great picture of an old chassis there. So that would be really useful for someone researching this topic. They also hold information about future developments. So this has a whole section about new cars that are coming out. And while someone might not be researching that right now, in 50 or 100 years' time, we hope that they would come to the reference library and that would be here ready for them to access. So I've received in the post this morning a donation of 2 new books. These are 2 books that we actually knew were coming to us. The donor emailed us beforehand to see if we wanted them, which enabled us to check our collection, have a think about how it compares with our collecting policy, and we decided on this occasion that yes, we would like those books for the collection. So the donor has kindly posted them to us, and the first thing I do is fill in one of these, which is a museum object entry form. As you can see, it's got an entry number at the top here. That entry number will be marked on the objects so that they are identifiable, and there is a paper trail back to this form. Then this form gets sent to the donor to sign, and then they send it back to us. And they need to sign this transfer of title section, and that transfers legal ownership of the object to the museum trust. So then that means that the object does not belong to them anymore and it's legally donated to us. Once an object has been donated to us, we then begin the process of accessioning that object. So this was a recent donation to us, this lovely biography of James Hunt. So every item is given what we call an accession number, which is this number here. So 2020/R/29.2. So this means it was donated in 2020 as part of the reference library, R for reference library, and it was the 29th donation that year, part 2, because this donation was actually of several books. So this was the second one in the collection. So using that number, we then add that to our collections management system. We use something called Calm on the computer here, and each item in our collection has a record that looks a little bit like this. So each Calm record has a number of fields for us to fill in, and you need to fill in those with as much information as you have about the object. Obviously each object has an accession number and also an entry number, so we can trace exactly where it's come from. Each Calm record will also record the donor, so we know who's given it to us, whether it was a donation or a loan or a purchase, so you know the terms that it was given to us on. There's also a physical description, so we know what condition the object came in, so if there's any deterioration then we can track that as well. So now James Hunt has an accession number and he has a record on COM. He can be found a home in the library. So this is the main area of the reference library. And this is where we have biographies. And now we just need to find a space, which is easier said than done.
We check our collections weekly, looking out for mould, pests, temperature, humidity and light levels. One device that we use to help with those checks is this UV light. I don't know if you can see that. It shines a blue fluorescent light, and we scan this over areas or objects, and the idea is by using this in the dark it should highlight any areas where mould spores have started to grow. I can show you if you like. So here's the light and this is the wall, if you can see it. And in the dark we scan this over areas that we feel that mould might grow. So these might be areas where the air is still and cool and not much movement. And this is a good way just to keep an eye on things. We also use the UV light to check individual items as well. This is done once every 6 months in selected areas, and this gives us an overview of the storage environment and if it's suitable for the items that we have. So we'll look at one item today. A Happy Motorist by Philson Young, published in 1906, looking at an introduction to the use and enjoyment of the motor car. It's a good example. I always place the item on a conservation grade book pillow just to support the pages, and using the UV light I scan over the outside. Inside pages, not all of them, maybe select on the inner leaf and then a couple of pages in, because we want to minimise handling where we can. If we're doing this once every 6 months, we just have to be careful we're not over handling the book. And then on the back as well, and on the inside again. And this would be done in the dark as well, just so that any areas that show up are highlighted much more easily. One more bit on the inside. And then I also check the top of the pages, sides and bottoms, because they'll be the first to show up any signs. And I also just check the area inside the shelf, and also just double checking there's no pests behind there as well, and in the book, and place it back. And then that goes into an audit sheet. We also check objects and storerooms on a weekly basis for pests. Pests are something that we consider a risk to objects, and in our case is paper-based items. So this might be mice, for example, or insects. Windowsills are a good place to look because insects would be attracted to the sun's warmth and light, especially if the window's facing west, for example. And each week I just get a regular torch this time, something like this, and I check along the windowsill. Anything that I find, I then report on a log sheet. A good reference is the English Heritage Pest Poster, which is available online, and that gives an idea of which insects are attracted to what. I've had a look today and I'm pleased to say there are no fines, so nothing to report, which is good news. Or you might even see the odd bird either trying to get some food with insects, or it's spotted its own reflection and thinks it's something else. Whee! For temperature, humidity and light levels, we use these monitors. We have them in all our storerooms. Any readings are then transferred over to a special software, which we then take readings from. And the readings we get come out like this on the computer. To give you an idea what we have in our collections, we have things like auction catalogues, motorcycle handbooks, price guides, books of course, might be on engineering, travel maps and guides, road traffic hacks, commercial vehicle workshop manuals. We have catalogues, materials on technical items, so anything to do with engine building and parts, road and highway building history, traffic research and road safety, film and TV cars, children's books on cars, event programmes from events around the country and internationally, steam event programmes, show guides and books on engines. In another storeroom we have the magazine collection, and workshop manuals for cars. And in the reference library we have the main bulk of our sales material and brochures and book collection from sports vehicles and commercial vehicles, biographies. We also have the car manual collection in here, Formula One and yearbooks, general motor history, specialist car magazine bound volumes, specialist mark books, motorcycles, company history and design. Examples of what we got in the collection are things like the first London to Brighton programme, entitled Programme of the First Legal Run of the New Automotor Carriages in England, dated 14th of November 1896. Also the first Royal Automobile Club's rally in 1932. The programme includes the list of all the competitors in the race, model of car they drove and their starting point. The programme includes the route cards as well. There were 6 different routes, each with a different starting point. Here we have the one from London that went to Harrogate, to Edinburgh, to Buxton, to Cambridge, all routes finishing at Torquay. Also in the collection is a book considered to be the first on the subject of motoring in the English language, published in 1896, called The Concise History of English Carriages and Motor Cars. In it, it looks at the history of the horse-drawn carriage, but near the end of the book is a chapter on the development of the new motor car and propelled carriages.
The reference library collection is really broad. We don't just hold books and magazines, we also hold sales brochures like this one here, price lists, workshop manuals, and also programs for motoring events, lots and lots of different things. I just picked this one out to talk through. We received this last year. Someone had found it in a drawer. They were clearing out some of their relatives' things, and it's an Eccles Caravans brochure from 1929, and they sent it in to us. So really it gives sales information, but also there's a real depth of information in here that you probably wouldn't just expect from a catalogue. So the first thing on the front page is these are some distinguished lords and ladies and maharajas who have bought our caravans. So that just goes to show sort of their values at the time. And then it goes through the different models they have. And then at the back, it describes a 3,500 mile tour across India in a 9-foot Eccles caravan. Which I can't imagine was particularly comfortable, but it's got some lovely images in there. And really not what you would expect to find in a sales brochure for a caravan. So it just goes to show you can really extract a lot more information than you would think out of these things. I picked out this particular sales brochure to have a look at because it is from 1961, which is the same year that the reference library was founded. This is a Japanese brochure for a Datsun Bluebird Fancy Deluxe. This was a special edition of the Datsun Bluebird, which was already quite a popular car, and this was squarely aimed at the female market, which I imagine you can tell from the front cover. Just the initial artwork I think is absolutely charming. I love this. You've got this beautiful lady here, a sweet little perfect white dog, this beautiful two-tone car. It's so evocative of the era. Some features of this car were very usefully this cosmetics mirror here. And then apparently the accelerator pedal was longer to accommodate you when you're wearing high heels, so you don't have to change into any driving shoes. And you got the glove compartment here, perfectly sized for your handbag. Also a vase with a flower right by your leg when you're trying to drive, which might not be so practical. And then frilly net curtains the whole way round the back of the car. Not so good for visibility, but wonderful for when you've got tennis in the afternoon and you need to get changed in private. I just absolutely love the artwork in this one. And it's just really, really evocative of the early 60s.
If you'd like to know more about the reference library, then look up the National Motor Museum Trust Reference Library to get to the web page. It's been a pleasure showing you around. Thank you for watching.